Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining another episode here on the 0%. Today is February 22nd of 2023, Wednesday, and I wanted to read an article going over information about can you sue the President of the United States? Again, can you sue the President of the United States or any public officer who is operating in their personal capacity if you may feel they are violating any of your constitutional rights or human rights or whatever it may be? I'm going to share my screen here, and we may find this to be very interesting. Some of you may already know this, those of you who are longtime students within this field and have experience going in and out of the courts, whether that be on the state level or federal level. But I would like to share my screen and read this article with you and show you who you're actually supposed to be suing if you want to sue the actual president. Is Mr. Biden or the former Donald Trump, are they the actual real party of interest? That's what we're going to get into. So let me share my screen here and see what we can uncover. What I'd like to show you is this article here. It's called Can I Sue the President? Can I Sue the President? You may find this on findlaw.com. I actually just found this today, just browsing through the search engines. So let's read. It says process for suing a president. The process you would take depends largely on your allegations. The Federal Tort Claims Act sets the process and rules for suing the government. The statute of limitations on most government claims is typically 2 years. So you need to submit your claim within 2 years of the situation occurring. Once you submit your claim to the proper agency, the government has 6 months to act. If you're trying to file a personal claim against a president, you would need the help of a civil litigation attorney. Also, you need to know this. You have the right to sue anything, any entity, any person in a pro se capacity. That is a constitutional right. You do not need to hire the aid of counsel to defend yourself. Let that be very clear. I don't care what the situation is. You do not have to allow the court to force upon you counsel, because when you do that, you are now allowing the state, you are now allowing that administrative judge to now speak on behalf of the opposing counsel who is against you or who is defending themselves against you, and they will just speak on their behalf, which they cannot do. You may recall Trenzi versus Pagliaro. It says here, history of lawsuits against a sitting president. There is a long history of lawsuits against presidents. Some come to fruition, while others are refused a hearing by the Supreme Court. These two cases have set much of the precedent for presidential lawsuits as they are today. Nixon versus Fitzgerald is a case from 1982 where A. Ernest Fitzgerald brought a lawsuit against several government officials, including President Richard Nixon. The Supreme Court decided that presidents are not immune to criminal charges while in office. In 1997, the Supreme Court heard Clinton v. Jones, which determined a sitting president could not be sued in a civil suit for official actions until the conclusion of their term. This gave President Bill Clinton temporary immunity, though the case was able to start pretrial discovery. When he left office, Paula Jones was able to continue the sexual harassment lawsuit. Lawsuits can also be sued or can also be used to stop a president election. In President Obama's case, a 2009 lawsuit was filed in federal court claiming he was ineligible to be president. Notable recent examples include President Trump being sued under the emoluments clause of the Constitution, defamation, sexual harassment, and anti-abortion policies. Now, you can continue to read this article. Essentially, what they're saying is, depending on their current stage in their presidency, that they can be sued or they cannot be sued. But my question here is, should you be suing them directly using their name? For example, Joe Biden versus the people of the United States, or Joe Biden versus my company, whether he's passed some law that has affected my company. Should it be in that format? Well, let's see what the law says. If we were to go to the federal rules of civil procedure, because this would automatically be a federal tort claim, we would have to go to the federal rules of civil procedure, specifically Rule 17. I was about to say Rule 12, but it would be Rule 17, plaintiff and defendant capacity public officers. If you are elected by the people, allegedly, if you're in your proper status to where you can submit a proper vote, then you are considered electing a public officer. Now, all we do here is we teach all about expressing our express trust. Now, look at what Rule 17 says about the express trust when it comes to a real party in interest. It says an action must be prosecuted in the name of the real party in interest. The following may sue in their own names without joining the person for whose benefit the action is brought. A, an executor. B, an administrator. C, a guardian. D, a bailee. E, a trustee of an express trust. A party with whom or in whose name a contract has been made for another's benefit. And G, a party authorized by statute. Notice how it says a trustee of an express trust. It doesn't say a spendthrift trust. It does not say a living trust. All of the other artificial trusts out there that are created to be very similar to that like of a corporation is not here in regards to real party and interest. Why is that? Because an express trust is a natural person. It is the only thing that has the right to speak. It is the only thing that has rights for actual constitutional benefits and privileges. The Constitution is what protects you if you are within an express trust. Now, we like to have our trustees be a foreign person from another country to give us the complete immunity. And I'm going to show you that is exactly what the United States has done. When you try to sue Joe Biden, or when you try to sue Donald J. Trump, or whoever is currently acting as a public official, just know that they are what do you call a front man. When you have a CEO of a corporation, they are the front man to who? The shareholders. And we have that information to see exactly who you are supposed to be suing. Let's go down a little bit before we go to the next part. It says here in D, public officer's title and name. A public officer who sues or is sued in an official capacity may be designated by official title rather than by name, but the court may order that the officer's name be added. I have seen so many times where people attempt to sue the current president in their name. And a lot of times the first thing that you have to do is do it by title first. And depending on the allegations and depending on the content and the nature of the case, the court may order that all documents going forward will then be presented in the actual name of the officer. And that just depends if the court is ready for that case to become precedence, depending on the outcome of that case, where anyone can find it and anyone can see and read what happened. So what you need to know is, if you're suing the United States, you need to know how it began in the first place. It started by the Empire of Morocco. The majority of the earth is covered by the Empire of Morocco. North America is a part of that empire. To know this, you have to look at the treaties that existed before all of the documents that gave birth to the United States. We know that in Title 28 of the United States Code, it says that the United States is a federal corporation. We know that in the UCC Article 9-307, subsection H, that the location of the United States is the District of Columbia. So it is an actual artificial entity. It is a company, it has shareholders, and it has specific officers. It has CEOs, it has secretaries of states, it has presidents. Presidents control corporations. Kings and queens control kingdoms and empires. And princes controls empires. Sultans control empires. When you look at the Treaty of the Act of Algeciras, an additional protocol, you will find that every time it talks about His Majesty, it's talking about the great Sultan who has given plenipotentiary of power over to these kings and queens, such as over in England, and has also given power to these presidents. Now, these presidents have shareholders, and it has been described in the actual United States Corporation Company's articles of incorporation. Those articles have been recorded inside of every single state's Secretary of State's office. That article I am referring to is this one. Now, this is just one of many. This is 100009, and it is referenced. You may find this within the state of Florida. If you were to go to sunbiz.org and do a general business search for the United States Corporation Company, you will find this article. These are the articles of incorporation for the United States Corporation. This one was filed in July 15th, 1925. A total of 7 pages saying what the company is intended to do. Here it is, filed in the Office of Secretary of State, the state of Florida, 15th day of July, AD 1925. It says the United States Corporation Company. You'll find that it's also housed in Denver, Chicago, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and they have the addresses where you may go to find those documents. Now, the executive office, anytime you have an executive office, you are dealing with a corporation. 65 Cedar Street in New York City. New York, New York. What county? New York. Now, you may read through this and it tells you everything that is happening here that they have intended to do. Now, everything that they're talking about is dealing with all of the issues that majority of the people are dealing with, because they are issuing licenses to everyone. This document is spawning from the Treaty with the Enemy Act, how all U.S. citizens, as they are declared under national emergencies, are automatically deemed to be an enemy of the state. And if you are an enemy of the state, you cannot do trade of conduct. You can't do any type of commerce, any type of business without having a license issued by the president. And what is that license? That license is first the issuing of a birth certificate, which gives birth to a social security number. And through that social security number, that is the main license. That is the first credit card that you're given, taking on the benefits and privileges of this company. So that way you can get houses, cars, old age insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, medical insurance, dental insurance, everything that you know to be that protects you here in the continent of North America under the United States Corporation, which is under the Empire of Morocco. You are being subject to these articles here. At the same time, if you're naturally born here, you need to know that makes you a subject of the Empire of Morocco first. And that is what you need to claim. If you're being sued or if they're coming after you, you need to first claim that you are first a subject of the Empire of Morocco and that you are a national of the state in which you were born in. That is the order of operations. If you think about how this company began, it first started out by the treaty, right? The treaty that gave them birth to do it. That's the Treaty of Marrakesh. We know that thanks to the great Jonah Bey. And then you have the Articles of Association in 1774, which then goes down to the Declaration of Independence, 1776. And then you get the Articles of Confederation, 1781, followed by the 1787 United States Constitution. Now, the 1787 Constitution is your Republic Constitution. But you must know that there is a 2-year gap from 1787 to 1789 where it changed over to the de facto democratic, which we have today. Now, George Washington, he wrote a letter to the great Sultan telling him that there is going to be a peaceful revolution changing from the Republic to the democratic because the Republic had failed, right? This is Star Wars at its best. The Republic had fallen and the other side prevailed. If you were to search George Washington letter to Sultan, I believe his name is Sidi, and you'll find it within the National Archives. He wrote this December 1st, 1789, and this is where you get the United States of America Constitution and Congress assembled with all of the amendments. There weren't any amendments with the 1787 Constitution, but there was for 1789. I'm just going to read this very first paragraph. It says, "To Sidi Muhammad, since the date of the letter, which the late Congress is the Republic, by their president, addressed to your Imperial Majesty, the United States of America have thought proper to change their government." You see, they're going to change from the Republic to the Democratic, from a de jure to a de facto, and to institute a new one, agreeable to the Constitution, of which I have the honor of herewith enclosing a copy. The time necessarily employed in this arduous task are the derangements occasioned by so great, though peaceable, a revolution. Now, this phrase here, peaceable a revolution, means a takeover, to be usurped, a usurpation of one government to another without bloodshed. This is what it means by the pen is mightier than the sword. By the stroke of a pen, the government was changed from a republic to a de facto. Simple. And he says, "Will apologize and account for your majesties not receiving or not having received those regular advices and marks of attention from the United States." You see, when the United States began, it was first called British America. Members of England came over to the colonies and they had to pay tribute to the Sultan. Marks of attention is taxes. It is tribute. It is advice. They set up the Department of Agriculture to collect, and they were supposed to give a portion to the United States, or I'm sorry, to His Majesty. But something happened to where they could not do that. Something took place. A great catastrophe took place, which rent the Americas asunder, right? It says, which the friendship and magnanimity of your conduct towards them afforded reason to expect. Now, I explain this entire letter in the book, 0%, you can find on Amazon. I break it down thoroughly. And it's very interesting to see how the change took place from the Republic to the Democratic. Very, very subtle, very sneaky, the very same way that the Federal Reserve Act was passed, I think just before Christmas in the year 1913. These things are always done subtle, right under your nose. But let's go back to the Articles of Incorporation here. So we can do a general search. Now, this is in Florida. I'll show you. If you go to sunbiz.org, this is Florida's Department of State third-party service. If you hit search records, search by name, and we can type in United States Corporation Company. This is going to tell us who you are supposed to sue. Now, here it is, that document, 111000009, and it's currently active. If we go back to our document here, here's a number, and I want you to see who signed the document. If you go to the very bottom, at this time, it was Louis Gunther, Samuel Howard, Arthur Britton. At that time in 1925. These are the shareholders. These are the shareholders who tell and control your public presidents. Okay. Now let's go back. We'll click on the first one. Here it is, United States Corporation Company. And here's that number. And here is the United States Corporation Company's EIN number, established July 15th, 1925. Their principal address is in Delaware. Delaware is one of the 17 discretionary trust states. So whenever you find a corporation being first established in Delaware, that means a trust controls this corporation. We just read in Rule 17, a trustee of an express trust. You have to sue the trustee. You have to know who that person is. And the only way to get to them is to properly serve or sue a corporation. To do that, you have to serve the registered agent. And a lot of the lawsuits that I find where people are trying to sue the president, first of all, they're suing that you can't sue the president in their name. You have to wait till the court tells you that all documents after that are going to be in that name. So first it needs to be the president. Leave it at that. And then it needs to be should it be the United States of America or should it be the United States Corporation Company? It needs to be the United States Corporation Company. And you have to also CC the registered agent. The only way to properly sue a company is to sue or CC the registered agent. Otherwise, you have done what's called an unlawful, insufficient service of process. Okay, there's things that have to be done when suing these entities. If we go down, we see that the title president and the director is not President Biden. It is Rodman Ward III, who was the secretary, George Massey III. That is a Middle Eastern name. Who is the treasurer? Is this the same treasurer that you find on the dollar bills? Is this the U.S. Treasury? No. All of those people are frontmen. You do not sue them. You sue these people. And look at it says here, April 19, 2022. This is the most recent up-to-date information. And they continuously renew every year. Let's go to Nevada. I wonder if we can find the very same thing. Let's type in United States Corporation Company. What do we find here? It says United States of America Incorporated permanently revoked, right? What about just the United States Corporation Company? Do we have that here? Did I type it in wrong? Let me go back. There we go. So it is currently active. Let's click on that. And we do see the individual with authority to act, George Massey III. Okay, so this is the name that you have to sue. First, it's going to be the United States Corporation Company, comma, and then you put George A. Massey III, comma, and others. And then you put yourself down as the plaintiff. So now you have to figure out who is the registered agent. It says right here, it is commercial registered agent. They're actually hiding that address. You have to track it down and find it. It all depends on the state you're suing from. You can find the United States Corporation Company in your state. This is a perpetual company, just like the initial one said. Let's go ahead and go to Colorado, see if we can do the same thing. United States Corporation Company. Here we go. Colorado first registered them in 1969, and that is the same address that we found on Sunbiz in Delaware. So here's the registered agent's address. So if you're in Colorado, this is where you would send your service of process to. Okay, that is the proper way to sue a president or anybody who's in their public capacity. You first need to sue the real parties of interest. Now, one last thing before I let you go. I spend a lot of time helping clientele to put their express trust together, and we give them an opportunity to further express it in a few different ways. One of my recent clients is dealing with an issue in the state of Texas, and she's being sued by the state of Texas. And I want to show how a lot of times they're expecting for you not to know how they're supposed to sue you with their name. In Texas, in the 1836 Constitution of the Republic of Texas, it says here in the judicial section of Article, I believe this is 4, Section 4, it says the judges by virtue of their offices shall be conservators of the peace throughout the Republic. You see, everything started off as the Republic, and then it was changed. Now it says the style of all process shall be the Republic of Texas, and all prosecutions shall be carried on in the name and by the authority of the same. That means if a court is suing you, they must say, or let's say if the state is suing you, a lot of times you're pulled over by the police, you have an altercation, the state is going to sue you. And if the state is suing you, it must say the Republic of Texas versus, and then your name. If it does not, if it at all looks like this is a current documentation from her case. If it says the state of Texas, that is the corporation, that is not the Republic. And this is not what the Constitution says that they're supposed to do. So right now, I don't care what the charge is. It says failure to ID. She is not being properly sued by the state. It needs to say the Republic of Texas versus such and such and such and such. Right there on that grounds, the case is dismissed and she is going to win. There are other things that they have violated, of course. So it's going to be a myriad of things that they have violated according to the Constitution. We don't just stick to just the Declaration of Rights. There are so many things. They have violated separation of powers according to the powers of the government. They have violated their oaths. They have violated what's in the schedules. And here's another thing. If you see how this Constitution is broken down into sections, you have a schedule and you have a general provisions. This entire thing shows you that it is a trust indenture. When you have words like a schedule of minutes, or an agenda of minutes, that means you're dealing with a trust. It always begins as a trust. So these officers, these judges, public officers, they have given an oath to defend the Constitution because they are trustees to the trust indenture, and therefore you are a beneficiary because you are a natural inhabitant of that state in which you currently reside or currently lay your head or wherever you frequently travel. So many different things that go into this for your freedoms and to have your rights protected. But you have to first know the Articles of Association, the Articles of Confederation, the 1787 Constitution, and the current Constitution in the state where you live. If you know that, then you can definitely defend yourself and your family and help with asset protection and wealth generation. All right, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.